Okay, so this is really the next set of equations, or the next equation we need to deal with. So we've spoken a little bit about how mass, GFM, and moles are related, and we've done some balancing of our chemical equations as well. The concentration stuff really plays a big part in the next section, which will be pH. I'm I'm honestly struggling in terms of how I want to time this, because we are approaching the summer, and the next bit that we're going to do is on pH, and there's lots and lots of practicals for that, and I don't know how things are going to look after the summer. But I would like that section to be more practical if we can manage it. Um, I think we'll start it. We'll do some of the legwork, and we'll then recap all of it when we get back after the summer. I've certainly found it a lot more sporadic, especially the last week or so. I have certainly slowed down. I think I've been getting frustrated with how long it takes my iPad to load emails, which is a sign that I'm getting a bit annoyed generally, and that is perfectly reasonable. I think we are all trying to do our best, and it is a little bit trickier, and I feel like it's going to be hard to kind of pull things together. However, the people that I did get work back from, it was excellent. It was really, really good. And for those of you who haven't gotten around to it yet, or you did it, the answers are up there. Let me know if you're struggling with anything. I can even do some specific videos on topics that you've struggled with, and we can go back and see them. But that being said, the pace has slowed the last week or so. I'm going to try and get back up to speed. We will see if I manage that. We will see. However, we shall get started with the concentration stuff. We'll talk a little bit about it. We'll do a worked example, and then I'll give you some questions, and then we will come back to this when we do the pH stuff. So really the big thing to note here is both the equation and the unit. Now, the unit's really important. It's actually why teachers went off using the triangle to make it easier, because it was seen that by making it easier, we were kind of skipping a thought process, which actually made your long-term understanding a little bit worse. So we've got moles here, and just remember, moles is just a massive number of molecules or atoms, and it is related. It helps us relate 1 gram, GFM, and moles. It allows us to talk about atoms in a realistic context. So the number of moles we have is equal to the concentration multiplied by the volume. Now, that is not super helpful written like that. And what I'll do is I want to show you it as a triangle and why this helps me visualize it a little bit more. So concentration is here. The unit for concentration is moles per litre. That literally means the number of moles divided by how many litres we've got. And over here we've got concentration is the moles divided by the litre. That really means that where you've got your solute, that is how much of that solute is there per litre, and that's all concentration is. So we can use this equation to work out how many moles of something we have in a litre, and this will relate back to our first set of equations about mass, moles, and GFM. So we'll do a little example, and then I will set you some questions. Okay, so this is probably the simplest example you're going to get, because they've given you the number of moles. The classic one that they're going to give you is probably, they're going to give you in grams first, and then you're going to have to do actually a two-step calculation, but we'll do that in a little while. We will tackle this first. Now, it's not as simple as it could be. The reason for that is the volume of water is actually given in milliliters, so that needs to be converted, and you would take 500 and divide it by 1,000 to give you that unit in liters. So that is going to be 0.5 liters. Honestly, use your calculator. I know you can do it in your head, but just double check, especially in an exam when you are already a little bit probably not thinking as clearly as you usually do. So just always double check when you do your conversions. It's marks that are lost that are silly. So from the data book, we've got N equals CV. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert that into my triangle. And we've spoken about why the triangle is both good and bad. Hopefully we can appreciate that it does make things easier, but we need to make sure that we understand what we're doing as well. So this is the number of moles we find per litre, and the unit is really important. So the unit for concentration is moles per litre. Now it can be this one or the other one, but not combined. So you either stick with this one or you stick with a slash. Either one of the two. Don't care what it is. I sometimes think the slash kind of reminds me what the equation is. I'm not super mathsy. Some people know that means divide. It's just a fancy way of saying divided by. It doesn't say that in my head immediately. I just have not spent that much time dealing with that kind of maths. These get more useful as you move up though. So as the units get a little bit more complicated, these superscripts make a little bit more sense. So from the question, I can see that I've got my moles, which is 3, and my volume, which I've already converted, is 0.5. So what I need to do now is do 3 divided by 0.5, which will give me 6. Once again, use your calculator. Please use your calculator. Now, that does not get me any marks at the moment because it does not have a unit. It will not count unless you put a unit in. And if you can't remember the unit, well, what are you doing? You're dividing moles by litres. So that is going to be 6 moles per litre. Or 6 moles dash litre. And once again, if that was my final thing that I was doing and that's what I wanted them to mark, I'd double underline it. And that's, you got that question kind of sorted. That is probably the simplest one. We're going to do a little bit of a tougher example. Then I'm going to give you some to try yourself. I'm going to give you 3 to try. If you could just email me the answers, that would be good once we get that bit. But I'll talk to you about that when we do that little section. So example 2 is going to be a little bit trickier. Okay, so what I want to do is run you through the process of thinking about this one and then kind of see how we're going to deal with this under exam conditions. We are going to need a lot of practice at this. This is just step 1. So this is just step 1 of this entire process. So what we've been told is we've got 5 grams of sodium chloride and that was added to 1,500 milliliters of water, and we're being asked for the concentration of the solution. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to the data booklet. I'm going to look at that equation that has concentration in it. So this is the one that I've got concentration for, and I'm going to convert that into my triangle. Now, what I want to do is tick off what I've actually got. Once again, my volume is in milliliters, so I'm going to take that 1,500, I'm going to divide it by 1,000, and I'm going to get 1.5. So I do have my volume, and it's 1.5 litres. Now, when I'm looking at this, there's no moles. I don't have moles. I do have grams, and I do know what my substance is. This is when you've got to think, right, what information do I have? And now I'm going to take a look at the data booklet, look at my equations. And what I want to do is I want to find some equation that's related to, if I know what I've got and I know the mass of it, can I figure out the moles? And you do have that. So when we look at the data booklet, what we're going to find is we have N equals M divided by GFM. And what you might be thinking is, well, I've got the mass, but I don't have a number for this. But you do have your sodium chloride, so you're told what it is, and it's NaCl. Chances are they won't write it, they'll actually give you it as a formula, and that tends to be how they do it. So I can get my GFM from the data booklet, and my sodium is 23, I think. And my chlorine is 35.5. That means that when I add those together, my GFM is going to be 58.5. So now I do have my GFM. My mass was 5 and my GFM was 58.5. Now what I need to do is work out the number of moles that I actually have. So all I've got to do is take 5 and divide it by 58.5, and that gives me 0.0854, lots and lots of decimal points. I don't want to simplify that yet. I actually want to keep that. So I do have that, and it's 0.086, really. However, I'm going to keep the longer, the more accurate, technically, number in, well, not even technically, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to keep that number in my calculator, because if I simplify it too soon, it might throw my answer off a little bit. So I do have my number of moles, and it is left in my calculator, and it is 0.086 moles. So just to recap what I've done, I didn't have the number of moles, but I did have the mass, and I did know what my substance was. Because I knew what my substance was, I could work out the GFM. Because I've got the mass, I can take the mass, divide it by the GFM, and that will give me the number of moles. Then I can take that number of moles, leave it in my calculator, divide it by the volume, which was 1.5, and that will give me the concentration of my substance, which is 0.086. But remember, I've left it in my calculator. I didn't simplify it yet. Divided by 1.5, and that equals 0.057. And that will be in moles per litre. And that's my final answer, so I'm going to double underline it. Now, you can see that I have structured this at least somewhat in an organised fashion. Some of you are really good at organising your work and keeping it organised. For those of you who are a bit disorganised like me, trying to organise it in a systematic fashion will reduce the number of times you make a silly mistake. So it is quite important that you try that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 examples, an easy, a medium, and an exquisitely difficult one, and we'll see how we cope with them, and we will take this. Bear in mind, everything that we've done we will be using throughout the year. So this is not the first and last time you're going to use these. We're going to use these all the time, and I'm really hoping when we get back to some form of normal that we get to practice these in a bit more of a interesting fashion. Honestly, I was quite enjoying doing the YouTube videos, but I am missing people being able to ask questions in real time. I'm missing being able to kind of get feedback on the spot. I'm missing being able to talk about this stuff in a more fluid fashion. This is definitely stifled, and we are going to need to find a better route forward. But that's it. Hopefully that was clear. If you're struggling with the examples, please do get in touch, and I will try and get back to you as soon as I can. Hopefully I've no smashed my iPad out of frustration.